welcome to the West Las Vegas Theater. Let's give it up for the West Las Vegas Theater. Wow. I see some familiar faces that were out here last night. Thank you for coming back and getting dessert. How about that? We were fed last night, weren't we? I sat up last night in the bed like this. Eyes wide open, just mind just full, because I saw my brothers, my uncles, my aunts, my sisters on that screen before civilization, for what we were told what was civilization. And I just laid in the bed proud, hoping that the young children that were in the audience went home with their chests stuck out. Because should nobody be able to tell you anything about yourself? Your people were here before they were known as people. How about that?
And as Dr. Rochelle says, if you are the first, nobody can tell you anything. You did it already. Think about it. If somebody has done something, that means it's been done. It can be repeated. And so if we use our history as a roadmap for the things that have been done, look at the possibilities of the things that we can do if we reclaim ourselves and our original greatness.
I tell you, it was just empowering. So for my young brothers and sisters out there that you were here last night, you're here today, there are no names that can stick. So when they bait you into wanting to be angry, oh, he called me the hard R. What are you telling me? You got that wrong. I'm a king. I'm a queen. Okay. Long before the hard R, you were a king and a queen. And be proud of your history. Let's get this thing started.
All right, welcome everybody. Welcome to night 2 of the 13th annual Kemet in the Desert Black Weekend 2026. Just as a reminder, it was started in 2014 by Franklin G. Burley, who is no longer here. He's an ancestor now. He passed in 2019. But as you can see, there are people who are entrusted with trying to ensure that his legacy continues and that the program continues. So this is the 13th anniversary of Kemet in the Desert, started by Franklin G. Burley. Now, it was created to present, promote, and preserve African history, culture, and traditions, similar to Kwanzaa, which is also created to promote, preserve, and support African history, culture, and traditions. And this is a master lecture series presented by master teachers. Over the years, we've had some heavyweights come through town, and last night tonight is no different. And so for those of you who were here last night, you know what we're talking about. So we're in for part 2 tonight. But before we officially get going, we will do libation. And libation tonight is presented by Iya Iyajoke Rima Love. She is a Yoruba priestess. She has traveled to Nigeria several occasions and has gone through the official rites of passage programming in order to become a Yoruba priestess. And so she will do libation this evening. Ladies and gentlemen, we present Iya Iyajoke Rima Love.
Greetings, everyone. As Baba has said, I am Iyajoke Rima Love. And tonight I am going to do libations and pay homage to open up our program. And in alignment with our African tradition, I'm going to ask you all to join me to pour libations and give homage. So when I say Iba, you are going to respond, Ibashe. This is how we give homage in the Yoruba language. So let's try it 3 times. We're going to practice. Iba Olodumare. Iba Olodumare. Iba Olodumare. Ashe. We are ready. Let's begin. Omi tutu. Ona tutu. Ile tutu. Ebu tutu. Ori tutu. Iba Olodumare. Iba Olorun. Iba Ori. Iba Yeye. Iba Baba. Iba Iyami. Iba Unile. Iba Atiyo Ojo. Iba Atiyo Orin. Iba Ila Orun. Iba Iwo Orun. Iba Ariwa. Iba Gusu. Iba Egungun Kiki Egungun no. Iba Egbe Orun Akika Shege. Iba Awon Irumale. Iba Gbogbo Òrìṣà. Iba Ọ̀ṣun Ore Yeo. Iba Orunmila Ẹlẹ́rìí Ìpín. Iba Iyanifa. Iba Babalawo. Iba Awo Akoda. Iba Awo Asheda. Iba Oluwo. Iba Ojubona. Iba Franklin G. Verley III. Iba Professor James Small. Iba to the hands and heart of this production. Iba to the expression of God here today. In English, we have said cool waters, cool roads, coolness to the ancestors, coolness to our personal divinity, homage to the Supreme Creator, homage to the source of creation, homage to the spark of consciousness in each of you, homage to our mothers, homage to our fathers, homage to the primordial mother, homage to Mother Earth, homage to the sunrise, homage to the sunset, homage to east, homage to west, homage to north, homage to south, homage to the ancestors, homage to our spiritual mates in the astral realm, homage to the primordial deities, homage to the supernatural earthly deities, homage to Orunmila, the witness to creation, homage to Oshun, the first mother here on this earth, homage to Iyanifa, the priestesses of Ifa, homage to Babalawo, the priest of Ifa, homage to the first students of Orunmila, Awo Akoda, Awo Asheda. Homage to our teachers. Homage to those who light the path before us. Homage to Franklin G. Verley III. Homage to Professor James Small, whose wisdom we will drink from today. Homage to the hands and heart of this production. Homage to every expression of God here today, which is every being that fills these seats today. Now we're going to call in our ancestors, and again, I'm going to ask for your participation. And as we call in our ancestors, you're going to create a body percussion, some type of rhythm. You can either rub your hands like this, you can maybe tap your third eye, maybe tap your heart, maybe tap your temples, maybe tap your feet, but create some type of body percussion right now as you either speak out the names of your ancestors or hold the names of your ancestors in your mind while I usher them in for us collectively. Ile mokwe, ile mokwe, ile mokwe, akisale mokwe, akisale mokwe, akisale mokwe, eti bro mokwe, eti bro mokwe, eti bro mokwe, abeni ade mokwe, abeni ado mokwe, abeni ado mokwe, egungun mokwe, egungun mokwe, egungun mokwe, egungun kiki egungun no. Ancestors, we call you. Ancestors, we call you. Ancestors, we call you. Ancestors, if you are at the river, we call you here now. If you are at the mountains, we call you here now. If you're at the forest, ancestors, we call you here now. Ancestors, if you're at your gravesite, we call you here now. Ancestors, if you are in the places that you have walked this earth, we call you here now. Ancestors, we don't call you here for anything negative. No curse, no sickness, no loss, no death. Ancestors, we call you today for Kemet in the desert, the 13th annual Kemet in the desert, to come, to be with us, ancestors, to empower us. Ancestors, we call you today for longevity, for wealth, for prosperity, for peace and harmony in our homes, for love in our relationships. We call you for good children. May our children continue to grow in knowledge, wisdom, and understanding. Ancestors, we call you for victory over all adversaries. Down here, ancestors waiting on you. Down here, ancestors waiting on you. Down here, ancestors, and we're waiting on you. And we can't do nothing till you come. Praise for the mediums of the ancestors. Ancestors have preserved the mysteries of featherless flight. You preserve the word in power. The drums of the ancestors announce the arrival of the ancestors. The drums of the ancestors announce the arrival couple of the ancestors. On the strong mat, you spread your power. The ancestors are here. Ashe, Ashe, Asheo. Thank you.
The Ifajoke Rima Love. Now, at this time, we're going to do the Negro National Anthem. And normally, you'd have a soloist come up here and sing, but we're not going to do that. You guys are going to sing. So, I need everybody. Yeah, we're going to be led, but this is going to be group participation. So, I need everybody to get up on their feet.
I want to introduce this brother because he's a homeboy. This is a younger brother from another mother from St. Louis, Missouri, Ellis Rice.
Give it up. Come on. Now, he might be leading the song, but we're singing. We are singing. All right.
Lift every voice and sing till earth and heaven rings with the harmonies of liberty. Let our rejoicing rise high as the listening skies. Let it resound loud as the rolling seas. Sing a song full of the faith that the dark past has taught us. Sing a song full of the hope that the present has brought us. Facing the rising sun of our new day begun, let us march on till victory is won.
All right. Now is the moment from whence you came here. Professor Small graced us yesterday with our ancestry, showing us beautiful scenic pictures of different, lost my word, showing us different scenic pictures of Africa and the various ancestry from which we came from. And so today he's back to show us, what do we do with all of that? What do we do with all of that knowledge? And I'm just anticipating all that he has to teach us. So right now, I present to some and introduce to others, Professor James Small.
So we're going to do a life godly thing. And for those who had last night, you saw the old man trying to walk around and everything, so let him cool, I'm going to sit down. But we went through a lot of slides last night about the great ancestors and about historical contribution going back. And we're going to start tonight to finish those slides. We're going to start with Pharaoh Shoshank. And he's an important place to start because 99% of us are Christians, and yet a lot of our history is in the Bible, and we don't pay attention because we don't study so we can validate and cross-check things, right? And Shoshank is one of the first pharaohs mentioned in the Bible by name. And so I want to start off with a photograph of that brother So you can see he looks just like you and your son and your daughter and your cousin. So that's Joseph. This is the Pharaoh of Egypt, a very young man. A young man that's mentioned in the Bible. And though the world have not want us to own our black land, and Kemet means the black land. But look at who ran the black land in that time. And I wanted to show this again because circumcision is a big tradition in the Hebrew tradition, is big in the Muslim tradition, but it began in the ancient African Kushite Kemetic tradition. They left it and they paint the people, and we're clear, they had white paint, they paint their garments white, and they paint their bodies brown. So they were pretty clear on who they are. And you know, browns are nothing but shades of black. And we got all shades of brown leading to shades of black. This brother, I wanted you to see his hairdo. Because sometimes we look at things and we don't see what we're seeing. You need to see yourself in your history and know that it is you. Know that this is you. And in his hands is the Ankh, the thing that means life. And it really is it is a facsimile of both the male-female organs together that creates life. This is one of the first Assyrian kings that invaded Africa. This is when our troubles began. And we wanted to show you the area of our people. You see the Red Sea, and you see Thebes, and you see Memphis, and you see Jerusalem. All of that used to be a part of Kemet one time, before anybody else put claim to that land. All the way over to what is Babylon, and that entire area, we ruled the world. In a way, we still rule the world, except somebody convinced you that you don't. Black power is the power in the world, and that's not a cliche. Look at what's happening. Don't tell me who's in D.C. We change them every 4 years. And we will change this one in 3 years. So, next slide. This is it's exiled Hebrew musicians. It's a relief from Nineveh, sculpted back in 678 B.C. So you can see that the Hebrews back then thought they were African peoples. And they wore their hair in African locks. And they had nose like African peoples. They had lips like African peoples and cheekbones like African peoples. Today we have a different people sitting in our land with another tradition claiming to be us. But historically, this is what we look like according to the Hebrews who lived then. Next slide. Again, this is ancient Hebrews being taken into captive by the Assyrians from the palace walls at Sheret. That's 680 BC. You can see the brothers got nappy beard, nappy hair. And those are the Hebrews of yesterday. I mean, they're sitting in the audience today, but that's them on the relief of yesterday. A map of the area. The people, when we see up there, you see Phoenicians. Well, Phoenicians were Africans. The Palestine of that day, those were African people. The people who lived in the area we call Syria at that time, we are still dealing with African people. All through what is Anatolia and Turkey, these are all African people. Tigris and Euphrates, no one is living there except African people. There is no literature found anywhere in the world that put anybody in that area in that time period except black people. The people who don't understand that in their head is black people. And if you don't know your history, you're going to be subject to somebody else's mystery, and they're going to play you out of pocket. Next. Again, we're looking at Pharaoh Pianki, and so this keeps touching something. I'll take over the chain if I want to disturb the microphone. Kianki, the 25th dynasty, and they tell us that that's the African dynasty. But I showed you last night, for those who was here, all the pharaohs were African leading up to the 25th dynasty. What makes the 25th dynasty so important? After the Assyrians invaded and took over almost half of our nation, the brothers and sisters down south got themselves together, and led by this man, they came and took Kemet back. And that was the first major victory or defeat that had been done of any invading powers, and they re-established Kemet and reorganized Kemet. Pharaoh Shebaka, this is the son of the brother that we just saw, and he waged war, continued the war against the Assyrians. Pharaoh Shebaka and his queen, 25th dynasty. And don't get confused, she African. Some of y'all in this audience, as light as she is, look just like she is. We didn't just got light skin when we got to America. That's somebody else's mess, right? No, because people say, oh, you come in and the white man did this and that. We were light skinned way back in the day, okay, in all parts of Africa. And you need to really understand it. And like I said, they had white cloth, they had white paint, but that's not how they presented themselves. Next one. I love this brother because I love him wearing the ankh, and we all wear ankhs these days, right? And so that tells you how prominent the ankh is. This is Prince Horameket, the son of Shebaka, and the high priest of Amun in Thebes during the reign of his father and his two successors. And it lets you know that that ankh is a real thing in our lives, and we should all wear one of those. Now this is my favorite brother right here. I mean, this is my favorite of all brothers in the world. This is the man. Now don't he look like your cousin, your nephew, your grandson, your son? Come on. This is Pharaoh Taharka, son of Shebaka, succeeds at driving the Assyrian invaders out of Egypt. He's the only Pharaoh that's mentioned in the Bible with his name being clear. And this is in the book of Isaiah. And they mention this brother. And the prophet Isaiah says he's king of Egypt and all the world. And he tells the Hebrews, stand down. Don't try to attack these people because they're going to save Israel. And they're talking about this young man. And it's clear to you that this is an African young man. And it's chiseled in stone when he was alive. So he ought to know what he looked like. Shebaka, remember that name. That's a bad young brother right there. Next slide. And this is the Sphinx of Taharka, another Sphinx where they presented themselves as the lion, you know. Next one. Pharaoh Tanwa Tamani. I like this brother because he looks like my teacher who taught me Islam back in the day when I used to be a Muslim. I used to do that. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, the Kufu Allah Ahmed. And I still do it, and I know this is Ramadan for some who have breaking the fast, but he looks like a Sham Jabber, the brother who took care of Malcolm and his teaching, and is clearly an African pharaoh of the 25th dynasty. Next slide. Egyptian soldiers, they had white paint, red paint, and black paint, and they chose to paint themselves black. Now some people have been crazy enough to say they did that because they were cursed. Well, being cursed is such a beautiful thing, you need to find some more black paint and go to work. Pharaoh Semetic, this is the 26th dynasty. Again, you can see this is an African man. And I love the fact that the paint around his beard is red, black, and green. So Garvey somehow must have known something when he came up with that flag. Next one. Darius, king of Persia. All of us who study history, we learned about Darius, but no one told us that Darius was a black man. But they left it chiseled in stone, with his nappy beard and his nappy hair and his flat nose and his lips. But yet we learn about Darius. Others will take over Persia. Persia is today Iran. The people who live in Iran today, they are not the ancient Persians that Darius was a part of. But millions of ancient Persians, or today's Persians, that look just like him, live all over southern Iran. And many of them make up the army of Iran. And they are the indigenous people of Iran. History will erase other people's mysteries. That's too much. We let that go. Next slide. Again, just want to show you that the pharaohs were African people. people. The next slide. Because we go right into the 30th dynasty, which is the last African dynasty. And after that, we get invaded by the Greeks, then we get invaded by the Romans, but we'll still a little bit of it. And the second Persian invasion, now the Aryans from the north is taking over Persia. And we had a relationship with the Greeks. Many of the Greeks, Thales, Socrates, Pharaoh, studied in Egypt and studied under us. And so when Alexander got this young man whose father was from the north and whose mother was from the south, took over, we called for help from our Greek friends who we thought we were partners with to come and help us drive the Persians out. We didn't know they had other plans. But something happened. Alexander comes into Africa, marries a black woman, have a black child, because that's what black women give you when you have birth, right? Black child. His bodyguard is his main partner and also his brother. Shortly after he leaves Egypt and he's moving towards India, towards Persia and India, he's murdered by some of his own soldiers. And then they murder his black wife, and they murder his black child, and they don't tell you that in the classroom, right? Oh, but his problem was the night before in a drunken stupor, he murdered his main bodyguard. And there's a line that's there that goes, "Fools that you are, you've killed your mother's son." So if your mother's son, and everybody know that his bodyguard is black, so if he killed his mama's son, what color is his mama? Now, we always get Alexander as this bright white blonde-headed dude, but that is not the historical facts. When he kills his brother, he's told, "Fool that you are, you murdered your mother's son." And they killed the whole family. And then the whites take over the leadership of Greeks from then going forward. But they don't explain that to you in history and break it down. The ancient Nubian kingdom of Kush, 1500 BC to 4 BC, which we call the Sudan today. This is a facsimile of Wuhan fortress. This is built 1700 BC. The foundation is still there, so they were able to replicate what was there. Now, there is no King Arthur. There is no Queen and King in England. There is no France, Germany, or anybody building this type of fortress. This is in the Sudan, where the Sudan meets today modern Egypt. Next. A Nubian head, so you can be clear. The people in the history books and who the museum, everybody call Nubian, that's how they say they look like. Now, the Nubians are the people who occupy what is today Sudan, a big part of what is Chad, part of northern Cameroon, and even further south into what we would call Ethiopia. And Ethiopia in those days was not called Ethiopia. And Ethiopian is not an African word, it's a Greek word. And it means burnt face. When they saw us, they thought we were burnt, that the sun had baked us, and literally baked in the sun. And so they used that to describe the entire continent. These are some of the pyramids in Nubia, and Nubia have hundreds of pyramids. Many of them built before the pyramids of Kemet. Kemet have 1/3 of the pyramids that Nubia have today, but we rarely get to go there because there's always a conflict that Europe and the Middle East have formats in trying to steal the oil and the gold and the things that our land possesses. Jebel Bakr, this is in Kemet, Kerma, Sudan. These were all built before there was an Egypt. And for the Masonic brothers and sisters in the audience, you notice the two pillows he's standing between? Y'all know those two pillows well, don't we? So that tradition that they say came out of England, came out of Kemet, came out of Sudan, came out of Africa. And for all of you in the Divine Nine, this is your birthplace. Not Greece. But you know that. That's why we play the flip, because we know who we are, don't we? Next slide. Again, this is the Sudan. These are part of the pyramids and the other buildings that is there. And much of these buildings is Kemet. If you know, Anthony Browder was here last year, and Tony gave you a lecture. Well, Tony did years of excavating in the desert, and he found one of these pyramids buried in what is supposed to be Kemet, where that pyramid should never have been, because it is supposed to be a southern pyramid. But it showed that the Sudanese people was in Kemet before they even established Kemet as a dual civilization. Just some facsimile about people, the Meroitic Sudan, 1st, 2nd century. You know, all the people, when we talk about going south, these are just some modern pictures of what they would have looked like the rest of you in the audience. A Nubian king of Kush on the temple walls in Meru. It's very clear that this king is an African man, and he's sitting a throne very similar to his cousins and brothers and sisters in northern part of Africa called Egypt. Ancient African Aksum kingdom. Now, Aksum is what you call Ethiopia today. In the old days, the Africans called their kingdom Aksum. And Queen Makeda is the lady you call Queen Sheba. And so there's a lot of false myths, because you cannot imagine one of the richest, most powerful women in the world going into the Middle East to have sex with some broke shepherd called Solomon. Okay? That's not the way the world worked. But somebody else needed to steal your culture and have access to your lineage. So they had to create a mythology that allowed you to think that this occurred. Next slide. And I visited these ruins of the Queen of Sheba's palace in Aksum, Ethiopia. It's now even more completely excavated, and they've restored a lot of it. Next slide. This is another facsimile of what she would have looked like. Next slide. This is the home of the Ark of the Covenant. Now everybody talks about this Ark of the Covenant, that all this powerful stuff is supposed to be in. But the Ethiopians say, we got it. Now no, everybody else said they're looking for it, right? They make movies where they're looking for the Ark of the Covenant. But the Ethiopian says, we got it behind these walls. And I visited into this city, but they're not going to let you go behind the walls. Matter of fact, there's a fencing around even this temple. Next slide. This is it from another angle. Next slide. And there's a temple, there's a church here called the church in this town, in the next town, in Gunda. And the church is called the Church of Miriam. Now, we know that Ethiopia's Christianity is one of the oldest in the world. And the Ethiopian church is 500 years older than the Catholic Church, and 1,000 years older than Luther's Reformation that produces the Protestant church. So who's the oldest church? Not the Baptist church, not the Lutheran church, not the Methodist church. The Ethiopian church is 1,000 years older than them. And it is 500 years older than Catholicism. It's important to understand those dates. But Christianity is not an original Ethiopian or Aksumite culture. They got the church. The concept, it is what the Christian church is. So let me help you all out here tonight, because I know some of y'all be believing with the Lord and Jesus is great. Jesus is all right with me. When you don't know the history, then you can get angry at Jesus like I used to be. Then I learn the history and go, oh, he cool. He one of us. What Christianity is a synthesis of the Kemetic spiritual tradition. Say that again. Christianity, and it gave birth to Islam, they're both synthesized version of the Kemetic spiritual tradition. And it takes place in a place called Anatolia or Turkey after the Romans take over stuff. And so black folks said, we got to do something to save our stuff. So they synthesize it to survive in this other environment. And so it moves down to Ethiopia and to Egypt. And Egypt is called the Coptic Church. And in Ethiopia, it's called the Ethiopian Orthodox Church. All of this is older than the Catholic Church, older than the Protestant churches. You understand what I'm saying? But because this was not our base culture, The women of Ethiopia, the queen mothers, burnt all the original churches down except one, which is called the Church of Miriam. Until this day, no woman is allowed in that church. Men can go, but no women, because the sisters burn everything down. Because they said, this is an imposition on our culture. And if you go, I went to the Church of Miriam, and in the Church of Miriam is the largest painting of the Christ and the Mother in black, over 20 feet tall, with the Mother wearing blue with gold trim. I'm so impressed by it, I can see it like it's in front of me right now. And the child wearing white with gold trim, in the classic Madonna and Child posture. When that painting was painted, there's no Catholic Church, there's no Roman Church, there's no Orthodox, nothing. So it is your tradition. Somebody just took it and rewired it, reorganized it in their culture, and gave it back to you. But the black Americans, we did all pretty good. All of the blacks in the Caribbean and on the continent of Africa, we re-synthesized it. Because if you walk into a black Baptist church and walk into a white Baptist church, you're in two different churches, right? Because one is an African church and one is a European church. So we tried to bring it back to black as much as we could. It's important to understand that. These obelisks are taller than the ones in Kemet. And what you can't see, because they're too far away, they're designed to look like high-rise buildings. They have doors at the bottom and windows all the way up the top. Now, I don't know what that was about our ancestors were thinking or dreaming, but that's what they did. And you can actually go and see this stuff and it blows your mind. Wait a minute. They created these obelisks with windows and a door in the bottom, as though they knew somebody was going to build a high-rise one day with those windows and doors. Just in the Ethiopian Hebrew, which is a kind of oxymoron, and because if you're an Ethiopian, you are Hebrew. They're really the same people. Ancient castles in Gondar, Ethiopia. No Europeans had come down there yet. We built these ourselves. Okay. Ancient kingdom of Zimbabwe, because they said we got no civilizations. So this is a part of the ruins of Great Zimbabwe. When the whites first arrived there, I think around the 1600s or so, they said, oh, white people must have lived here and built this and then left. Because they couldn't accept in their brain that these are African peoples. Next slide. Again, looking, and all of these buildings are done without mortar. They stack these bricks in place. Next slide. Looking at it again so you can see there are hundreds of these compounds, because, and much of them are in South Africa. And because it was under apartheid all those years, we couldn't get access to none of this history. You know, you'll be surprised what's in South Africa. You see the ankh that everybody wears? It's found in South Africa 25,000 years before Kemet. Now you wrap your little head around that one. And it's chiseled in basalt stone, the stone that comes from the volcano. And the first symbol of Ra is not in Kemet, 25,000 years earlier, South Africa. Does that tell you something? How deep your stuff go and how far back it goes? Next slide. This I thought was very important. Look at the hair. This is an ancient glazed brick art makeup, the Babylonian processional way, which leads to the gate of Ishtar, which are on display at the Pergamon Museum in Germany. You see, the Babylonians are all black people. Do they tell us that when they tell us the stories about Babylon? Yet they got this in the museums that they stole from Babylon and took to Europe. But they don't tell you this is your culture, your history. They make you think it is somebody else's culture and history. Next slide. Another close-up of the Persian archers on their way. I was being sarcastic saying they are black. But is that clear enough for you? And they got this in the museum for over 100 years, sitting in Europe, pretending you don't exist in black. Next slide. Again, this is Darius, king of Persia. Clearly an African king. Next slide. These are some of the indigenous people of Iran. who serves in the military of Iran today, who never left Iran and didn't go there from any place else. They tried to say that, oh, they came from Africa during slavery. You know, there was a period, the Arabs held us in slavery for 1,500 years before 1492. And that's what made it so easy for the European Christians to conquer us, because we had been beat down for nearly 2,000 years by people we helped to get on their feet. Okay? And we even gave them a religion. And so the Muslim brothers, we can have a conversation, because I am Al-Hajj, Amin, Shaheed. I am not Muslim, I'm Mu'min. I'm not a believer, I'm a Noah. And I've been before the consul of the Rabat, Alim, Al-Islamim, and credentialized, so we can have a conversation on anything as if with Islam that you may think is inappropriate, because I'm an appropriate authority on the subject. And so it's important to know these things. You go forward. The Canaanite, we read about the Canaanite in the Bible. Well, these are how the Canaanites say they look. Do they look black enough for you? All right. Next slide. Again, the Canaan god El, there's a Canaan sister. Do they look black enough for you? They left these stones. They left these carvings. We didn't create this stuff today. Somebody didn't tell you the truth about your history while they're telling all the stories that they're telling. Next slide. Philip of Macedonia. This is where our trouble starts. You know, Philip of Macedonia, father of Alexander. Next slide. And so we're looking at the Greek invasion in 332 BC, and the arrows show you all the areas that they're beginning to conquer, starting under this young brother named Alexander, who was murdered before he can get to Persia after he leaves Egypt, and his whole family is murdered. They tell you about Alexander the Great, but they don't tell you they murdered that boy's family because they were black people. But you got to read history and erase their mystery and see your truth. Next slide. The Greek Parthenon. We have seen this thing all over our world, how fantastic it is, how significant it is, and how beautiful it is. Next slide. The Parthenon is there for a purpose, because when we look at the African one again, Alexander, this is how they portray him, as this young, handsome white man. Next slide. Again, next slide. Next slide. This is Ptolemy. That's the general who takes over Egypt after Alexander is killed. And it is his family lineage that will rule Egypt until really Islam would come, or the Romans would come and drive them out, and then Islam would come. This is the closest we can find on Cleopatra, Queen of Egypt, but you can see that Cleopatra's statues clearly show her as a young black woman. Now, Cleopatra is not her name, that's the title, all right? She may be the great-great-great-granddaughter of Ptolemy, but all of those guys were marrying African women. They didn't bring no Greek women over there with them, all right? They came as soldiers, men, and they married our women, or raped and molested and abused our women. So history tells the truth. Next slide. Trade routes in great empires of the first century. And I put this up to let people know that they didn't come just to visit. They wanted the grains, they wanted the linen, they wanted the gold, they wanted the myrrh, they wanted the iron ore, they wanted the thing you make, grapes. They came to rob us. The same thing we call imperialism today. This was the imperialism of yesterday. That's why they came and took our land and murdered our people. Not to come and say, oh, how y'all doing, and then had a problem with us. No, they were invaders coming to steal. They were robbers. Next slide. Again, this is the area that the Roman Empire would cover in terms of what they took. And they took control of the entire Mediterranean basin, all of North Africa, where Carthage is. This is all Africa. And Cyrene, this is all Africa. And if you read the book 2 of Herodotus' history, Herodotus tells you that even the people of Greece was first Africans. So they don't like for you to call Herodotus the father of history anymore, because once black folks started reading it, all we were reading was black history from Herodotus, and that's their main man. And Plato also wrote a nice book called Phaedrus, or the Phaedra, and if you read in that book, Plato says, and then not only, it's hard to find the Phaedrus, but you can find it, Go to Kajari's History of Mathematics. First chapter of his introduction, when he quotes Plato as saying the African, it said Plato used the word Ethiopian, has given the world all of its sciences. And he starts with medicine, geometry, arithmetic. This is Plato now. This is their main man. Plato is the biggest thing in their philosophy. And he's saying Africans gave the world all of these things. In his book, which they won't use in the classroom, they would rather give us the Republic, written by Aristotle, about Plato, so that he can edit out what he wanted to, and he did, right? But I'm just trying to drop a little science on you. That somebody lied to you one day. So we trying to dig up some truth, right? So all of the stuff that's now in brown used to all be in black. Next slide. Again, next slide. It's all about trading. You're going backwards. Go forward. Yeah. Go back one. Yes. Again, looking at our sister Cleopatra sculpt, and you can see she sculpted herself as an African woman, but they have a thing of breaking off our nose, so that's going to kind of make everybody not see who we are. Go to the next one. Mark Antony, they said, she had a romance with Antony, who was the leader and the king for a minute of Rome. Next slide. And then they said she had a child by Julius Caesar. We don't know whether any of that is true, because Shakespeare wrote that piece, and we don't know where he got his historical facts from. He can barely speak English, and we learned that he didn't write most of the stuff that he did, but he knows all about Africa. So, next slide. Constantine, the Emperor of Rome, who started Christianity in the white version. Don't be confusing Constantine Christianity with the Ethiopian Christianity. Two different bowls of wax. When Constantine calls the conference in 325 AD, after conquering all that brown part you see, he's trying to figure, how do I get control then of all these people's minds? So he said, let's use their own philosophy, but we're going to kind of twist it a little bit. And so he called the Council of Nicaea, and that's when the writing of what you know as the Bible begun. But it wasn't finished for 700 years. After the Council of Nicaea, you get the Council of Trent, you get the Second Council of Trent, you get the Council of Chalcedea, the Second and Third Council of Chalcedea, and it goes almost 700 years before you get a finished product. And what they did, they left out more of the literature of ancient Africa than they put in. That's why the Ethiopian Bible is so much thicker than theirs. And even the Catholic Church Bible have a few more books than the King James. But then they set aside a whole set of books they call the Apocryphy that they didn't put in, that it ain't in nobody's Bible. You all hear what I'm saying? Yeah. And so what occurs at this council, a rift between the white folks and the black folks. And the black folks is led by a brother named Arius from Egypt. And he tries to kill Arius. But Arius escapes, he goes back to Egypt, and he's considered to be the father of the Egyptian Coptic church. Okay? So these things, if you learn history, it'll erase somebody else's mystery, and you have a clearer view on who you are. And you're not as crazy as you think you are. You're actually smarter than you think you are. Because you're really doing your thing. You don't know that your thing is your thing. You think that your thing is somebody else's thing. Next slide. An artist reconstruction of one of the complex that make up Great Zimbabwe. To show you what went on. Usually the main house was in that big circle, but they didn't let people come in the main house. They had a smaller house, which was the reception house near the gate for strangers. Only family could get past the reception house. Then they had a place where the animals were kept, the goats and the cows and that sort of thing, and a place where workers lived. But the family lived in compounds like this in Great Zimbabwe. Next slide. So I was looking at the Roman Empire again, just to show you the extent of it. Now in this place, the Hagia Sophia, the first great church of Christianity, the senior church of the Byzantine Empire. Now the Byzantines are those black and white folks that lived in what was then Turkey, who decided they're not going to go along with Constantine's stuff. And so they broke away, and they created the synthesis, which they call today the Eastern Orthodox Church. The Ethiopian broke away from this group to create the Ethiopian Orthodox Church. Y'all understand what I'm saying? And so if you understand that, then you know that the Roman Church, when it comes into being, it's a baby. The church already exists for centuries. And King James, they don't come for hundreds and hundreds of years later. So this is it today. The Hagia Sophia has been converted to a mosque, and here it sits in Istanbul today. But it's considered to be one of the greatest churches in the world because that dome concept that's on the top, that was the beginning of the dome being used in great cathedrals. But today it is a mosque in what is now Turkey. Next slide. This is the Church of the Holy Sepulchre, built by the Roman Emperor Constantine on the site that was believed to be Jesus' tomb. They didn't have a clue where Jesus was buried. Not a clue. But because his mother, who was a great believer in what her son had constructed, had gone to visit this grotto, he decided then that must be where the church is going to be. And he built the church there, which is there today, and everybody go and visit it. They actually said they found the real cross, and they were selling a piece of wood for centuries, making good money. But that's somebody else's mystery. It is not your history. But you need to know. Next slide. This is an Ethiopian icon of Christ healing a blind man. Now what color does Ethiopia say it looks like? Remember, they got the first church now. All right. Next slide. St. Mary of Zion Church, the oldest church in Ethiopia, one of the 10 oldest churches in the world. Next slide. 5th century Byzantine church foundation in Ethiopia. Next slide. Christianity in Ethiopia is older than Christianity in the Western Europe and in England. We've been practicing Christianity when they didn't even know the word existed. But you need to know these people are you. One day somebody put you on a slave ship and brought you here. But you came from there as well as other places. Next slide. This is the phenomenal Church of St. George, carved out of solid rock at Lalibela. Now after the sisters burnt down all the churches and Lalibela became king, he went up in the mountains. He said, I'm going to fix that. I'm going to build these churches down in the ground. Nobody's going to know they're there. And he built 11 of them. And you've got to go and see it. I've been in them. It's fantastic. It is beyond anything you can imagine. That's just one solid piece of rock. They just chiseled it out of the ground. It's amazing. It'll blow your mind. Next slide. Again, I look at it from the air. Next slide. A priest of the early Christian church of Beth Golgotha, Lalibela, Ethiopia, with his cross and his turban and his, buba. Next slide. The Church of the Granite Column, Old Dongola. This is the Sudan in the 10th century. Okay. This is 10th century Sudan before Islam would conquer it and destroy much of the great cathedrals. The Sudan had great cathedrals before Europe had great cathedrals. That's Sudan that they're fighting this war in now, killing our people and pretending we don't have a history and a culture. Next slide. Again, the remains of the 11th century church in Bagnarti in Sudan. They're just excavating a lot of these things today. You built that. Your ancestors built that before England had a church, before there was a King James. Next slide. This is the Vatican City headquarters and the holiest site of the Catholic religion located in Rome. Next slide. In front of the holiest Catholic church in the world is an African obelisk that they took from in front of the temple in Luxor, Egypt. Now, if our stuff is all devil, evil stuff, what is that doing in the front of the Vatican? They know something you don't know about your sacredness and your spirituality, so they took your stuff and put it there. And this is the inside of Vatican. All of the wealth of the world they stole from you. Crowns of Black Egypt, worn by the Pope. Next slide. You see the Pharaoh with it, you see the Pope with it. Black Madonnas in Barcelona, 11 Black Madonnas in Mexico. Next slide. Pope John Paul II and the lady, I think it's that, St. Vincent. That's the Ukraine church. Next slide to the next Pope. And this is Pope Benedict, and at the Shrine of Our Lady of Czestochowa in Poland. This is the Black Madonna. These is Pope now going worshiping this Black Madonna and telling you the Madonna is white. Next slide. Oh, the Pope praying to the Black Madonna in the basement of the Vatican. Ain't that something? Now, how could they do this and tell you something else is happening? Are y'all feeling me, people?
Hello.
Trying to tell you something.
Hello.
Somebody is playing you. You've been played while they're praying to the Madonna. When the new Pope, when Francis came in, the first thing he was given was a Black Madonna. Next slide. The Black Madonna in Loreno, Italy, is one of the biggest spiritual parades in Italy every year. Next slide. Oh, there's a statue of Peter, St. Peter, in the Vatican. Ain't that something? This is as black as he can be. But they done told you something else. Next slide. How that happened? They got us running around. It's Black Madonna while they stole it through the streets with the Black Madonna. Now somebody done played you. You better listen to Brother Small. Next slide. See the Egyptian image? See a replica of it in the Christian tradition? Look well so you see what you see and know what you know. Hear what you hear. Next slide. The original, the copy. The original, the copy. Next slide. Black Madonna and Child of Egypt, the oldest known to history, Aset and Haru. Next slide. Again, Aset and Haru. What the ancestors were saying that all babies is the Messiah, male and female. All children are, and all births are the miracle, because that's where life recreates itself. Okay? And the mother is the throne of the earth. She sits on the throne because she is the throne. Next slide. Again, the Madonna child. This would be what it looks like in Ethiopia. This is what it was in ancient Kemet. Next slide. And then this happened. Next slide. Next slide. This painting is important, and I'm going to stop at this one, and we'll go into some question and answers. The 18th century painting by a European depicting Mary, Jesus, and Joseph arriving in Egypt during the Egyptian celebration of the Sed festival, the celebration of the birth of the Son of God, Heru, born of Immaculate Conception to Set. Now, do you see the contradiction in that picture? They paint a picture of Mary and Joseph coming into Egypt at the time the Egyptians are celebrating the birth of the Son of God by Immaculate Conception. So, in the slides there. And I'll go into question and answers. I just wanted you to see some of your history. We got so much history and so much coming out of Kemet. So, y'all felt all of that? Y'all understood what I said?
How you feel? Power? Power? Yeah, thank you so much.
All right, while Professor Smalls takes a quick break, we'd like to present to you all a young man from the community who is trying to make a name for himself as an artist, singing and rapping and what have you. He goes by the name of Saucy, and you can find him throughout the city at various events, doing things, trying to get his name out there. And I do believe you guys are going to enjoy what he has to present to you tonight. So can we please give this young man a round of applause and welcome to the stage, Saucy.
How y'all feeling tonight? Keep it in the desert. I said, how y'all feeling tonight? Y'all make your hand flow with me. All right, let's go. Let's start that music, y'all. Everybody get your hands up like this. Turn that music up louder for me, please. I woke up feeling great, yeah, feeling great, yeah. Blessings on the way, nothing in my way, yeah. No, I ain't like your pick, yeah, or your fit, yeah. I'm too busy making hits, yeah. After Sing, sing. I'm in a big mood. What? Big mood. Coolin', moving, grooving, vibing, perfect timing. Show up, grinding, hallelujah. That hot sauce, Cholula, you light it, ignite it. Now you get excited. You know where I'm at, yeah. If I throw you vibes, yeah, can you catch, yeah. I can love you, yeah, all night. Yeah, I can love you right, yeah, all night, yeah. But you gon' have to book me in advance. I won't do it if it ain't up in my plans. Look, I just spread love like jam. Baby, if you wanna love, we can jam. Cause I'm in a big mood right now. Everybody sing, in a big mood right now. Hands up, sing, in a big mood right now. What? In a big mood right now. What? I'm in a big mood right now. Let's go. In a big mood right now. Big mood. Say that you for real. I be doing shows and you ain't never here. Now you see me popping this year. You remember all the numbers to my phone. That's weird. I'm in a big mood. Yeah. I've only ever seen you run your mouth. Now won't you show me what it do? Like, can it pay my debt? Like, can it write a check? Like, can it pay my rent? Cause I got all my money spent. Wow. I was swinging for the fence, ooh. I ain't worried, not a bit, yeah, not a bit, yeah. I'm too busy making hits, yeah, after hits, yeah. I'm in a big mood right now. Everybody sing. In a big mood right now. Hands up, sing. In a big mood right now. Yeah, sing it, sing, sing, sing. I'm in a big mood right now. We're in a big mood right now. Big mood. Once again, my name is Saucy Downs, SAUCEYDOWNS. Please follow me everywhere. Apple Music, Spotify, Facebook. I'm still on there because I'm over 35. I have a TikTok, but I'm not on there. But follow me there too. I might start TikToking. I might start doing the little dances. But again, my name is Saucy Downs, Kemet in the Desert. Thank y'all for having me. Y'all have a beautiful night.
Thank you, Saucy Downs. All right. You know, we got to promote our own. We have to promote our own. And out of the West Las Vegas Arts Center, there have been many youth that have grown up in this art center and moved on to do really great things, not only just here in the Las Vegas area, but around the world. So we want to just right now give the West Las Vegas Arts Center staff and director a hand clap for grooming and promoting and inspiring and supporting the talent in our communities.
And you know, speaking of the West Las Vegas Arts Center, we have what's known as Art Center babies. Those are young people who basically have grown up in the center. The center is 30 years old, and I have had the privilege of being at the center since it opened. I teach African drumming at the center on Saturdays. So I would invite you all to come out and take some African drumming with me. if you like what we did earlier. But back to the Art Center baby thing. My child, who is now, she'll be 25 next week, is one of those Art Center babies. Basically born and raised in that center. I tried to, my late wife and I, for those of you guys who don't know, I didn't introduce myself when we came out, and I apologize for that. My name is Hassani Palacio, and my late wife is Kianga Palacio. Some of you guys may be familiar with that name because the park right behind us is named after her. So that's a legacy for my family. Her mother has a park named after her. So when my child was born, 7 days after she was born, we presented her to the world, if you will, and had her naming ceremony in our center next door. And a Yoruba priest came in and he did the cowrie shells and all of the good stuff that's appropriate for the naming ceremony in that very space. So she is definitely one of the Art Center babies. And today she works at the Art Center. She's been with the city for almost 2 years now, and she's running around here. She's one of the people that helped to make this happen tonight. So we'd like to acknowledge a few people while we're thinking about it. One, of course, the Art Center staff, Dr. Marsha Robinson. Lisa Russell. Tawanda Locke. And my baby, Tawani Palacio.
Excellence without excuses.
And I believe we have Councilwoman Chandra Summers Armstrong in the audience somewhere. She's our Ward 5 Councilwoman. And this center, of course, sits in Ward 5, so let's give her some love for taking the time out of her Saturday night to come hang out with us.
And it's not just about the arts and crafts, which is beautiful, the arts, but they stress education. So programs like these, you coming out and bringing the children out, we appreciate you for that, because without your attendance, we would not be. And this is just a big push that happens at West Las Vegas Arts Center, is education, always. Education first. And they really strive excellence without excuses. So when our youth want to kind of give up, no, it's always someone there like Mr. Palacio to lift them up, to pull them over in the corner. The men's rites of passage. Yes, give them a hand clap. The men's rites of passage. The girls' rites of passage, which was started by Kianga Palacio and China Hudson, still going strong. And so there's a lot this is a jewel in the desert. There's a lot that goes on over here. So when people in Las Vegas want to lie to you and say there is no culture here, they've never been here. Thank you. So at this time, we're going to bring Professor Smalls back out, if we can get his chair. We have the text to bring his chair back out, and we can give, we're going to have questions and answers. We're going to move about the auditorium so that you can get your questions answered.
We gotta give me a comfortable chair.
question, we would ask that you stand so that they can see you, and then they'll bring the mic to you.
Hello. Sheila Fianin Baba.
Baba.
I had a question about the legacy of Kemet after the Commission fall, how the knowledge kind of trickled into the interior. In your opinion, do you think the Yoruba culture is a continuation of that legacy, or is it something completely different?
No. There is this false concept that Kemet is the canopy of the African world. It is not. Kemet is a manifestation of African civilization, not the manifestation of African civilization. And we need to be clear about that. There were civilizations before Kemet. I told you in my discussion that the Ankh is found in South Africa 25,000 years before Kemet. Don't that tell you something? Ra symbol is found in South Africa 25 years before Kemet. There's this illusion that the world has that the rest of Africa, Black Africa, doesn't have a life until Kemet fall and the wisdom trickles there. It's the other way around. The wisdom came from the rest of Africa into Kemet and synthesized to create Kemet because of the ecological conditions for building a civilization, meaning building an economic foundation. The Happy River, the Nile, afforded the opportunity for commerce and economics like nobody's business after the Sahara dried up, where the great rivers were in the Sahara in West Africa. Those people then moved to the Nile Valley. They moved from the south to the Nile Valley and from the west. If you study geography, you'll find that the Lake Chad, for instance, was 100 times larger than it is today. You could go from a rowboat in Ghana to Kemet in a week because of the tributaries and the lakes. So we were moving back and forth like people go to New York from South Carolina and that sort of thing. So the fundamental principles that we see, all these sculptures and things in Kemet, and we get enamored by the sculptures, and if I ask the average person, tell me what it means, they can't tell me anything except that it's a pretty sculpture. It's a beautiful ankh. What did it symbolize? What was it trying to explain to us? Cosmology and ecology. The laws of nature. The laws of cosmology. That is the foundation for African civilization. In Yoruba land, when we talk about Ifa, Ifa means the wisdom of the universe. Okay, the wisdom of the universe. We talk about Orisha. Orisha are the forces of nature, the powers in nature that allows the world to animate. Of course, we turn them into anthropomorphic representation using animals and humans to trying to describe qualities and attributes. That's all they were doing in Kemet. So we see the symbols, but we have to know what is the message behind the symbols. And that message is probably millions of years older than Kemet.
Modubwe, Baba, Modubwe.
Yes, sir. Don't be afraid. I really sound like I know something. I don't know nothing. That's the one thing I do know is that I don't know nothing. And I'm trying to just learn and tell you about that tiny, immeasurable little bit of nothing that I know. But knowing is way beyond that. So please don't be afraid. I know you have answers. Don't be afraid to ask the questions. All questions are good questions.
Yes, Hotel.
Hotel.
Again, I would say it last night. I told you I'm a former student of yours from
Yes,
City
sir.
College. And I was wondering, about 5 years ago at New York's Met Museum, which is like the second largest art museum in the world, they had a special exhibition on the African origin of civilization, inspired by Sheikh Anta Diop's work. And I was shocked, actually, when I saw that. And, that's prominent as the museum is on Fifth Avenue, to see the works of Sheikh Anta Diop being featured there. I was wondering what your impression was of that.
I wasn't impressed. The thief decided to tell a little bit of a truth. That is the biggest repository of stolen African arts and artifacts in the world, outside of the one in France, the Louvre, and the one in England. What we should be proud of is that a truth about us at least is available for us to show our children and tell our children, as we've been trying. We've been telling this truth, Dr. Ben, Anta Diop, Dr. Clark. Scholars from time immemorial have been trying to tell our story, and the people at that museum and other places have done everything in scholarship in the world to make sure that story didn't get told. But because of you and the internet and studying, they can't hide it anymore. So if they're going to make some money, they better put our stuff out there for us to come to the museum and check it out. So I wasn't impressed by them. They're thieves. And everything in that museum belongs to us. And we did not sell it to them or gave it to them as gifts. Okay, do you understand what I'm saying? If you take our stuff out of the world museums, they won't have no museums. They won't have no museums. And so, yes, it was wonderful that it is available, but they had it hidden in the basement all along. Why didn't they put up and let the ownership of it come? They had Chester Higgins, a beautiful photographer. There's so much of Chester's work there. But Chester's been trying to get that message out to us for a couple of decades. I knew him before he got bald, like me, you know? So I don't give no respect or credit to my enemy and the thieves and the brigands who have stolen our legacy. None. I give it to us who have struggled all these years, meaning you and me, to get the story told in the open. And that's what's beginning to happen, because you do events like this, and people teach their children, and people travel to Africa, and people travel to Kemet, and they start spreading this word, and they're forced to tell the truth, because everybody can see now that it's a lie that have been told about us up to this point.
Good evening, Professor. Thank you for coming. Thank you for giving us the other side of the water story. I represent National Juneteenth and Juneteenth Nevada, and we have been working for over 30 years to bring the story of the arrivals to the present, 1619, up until the freedom and the current day. So I really appreciate you coming in and giving me more background, because we're trying to find out the myth stories that they have told, the lies they have told here in America, and you're giving me information that I can go back and study to take the story even farther back. I ask your permission to come up with more than one question, because I came in with one, and I'm listening and I'm hearing things. So very briefly, the question, I took the story of last night to our national forum. We have a 2-hour forum on air for National Juneteenth. And the question they wanted to know is about the name Africa. Where did it come from? Right. Second question, I would like to know who and why were the noses broken out. I think I know why, but I'm not sure who does it. And the third question I come up with is, are we saying that the other races have evolved in color from us, or are we, as you say, everybody, we're all black, we're all African. So did the other races, the other colors, the features evolve from us or from somewhere else?
Those are that. I missed one of the middle question. You said two, but you had three.
Yeah.
But
I went to Catholic school.
Well, let me deal with the Africa first piece.
Thank you.
And people talk about Leo Africanus. Leo Africanus, first of all, was a black man who grew up in Morocco, who came down to, and at the time Leo Africanus is writing, the word Africa has already been used for hundreds of years to delineate the continent. And if you talk about the other Roman general that called himself an Africanus, it's because he conquered the area now called Carthage. And so he named himself as the conqueror of Africa. His brother conquered a certain part of Asia and named himself something Asia. And that was the way they did in those days. When they conquered you, they took your name because that was your strength. The word Africa, if you study it, and you got to do the etymology of the word goes back to, and they celebrate it every year. In Tunisia and Algeria, they celebrate the fact that this was their ethnic name. Till this day, every year. Their name was Afriye. The Roman word acronym for land is Ka. The Romans in their literature wrote that we went to Afriland, Africa, where the Marouche, which became Moors, lived. And that's where you find the etymology of the word, and you find the genesis of the word. That is an African word. There's nothing in you. If Africa was a European word, you'd find it all over Europe. You find it in no European language system. You find nothing in Europe called Africa. This is an African word. The people of Tunisia, and they're certainly imports, but they're owning the civilization as being theirs, and they just still celebrate. That name you can find all over the Akan culture, the people in Ghana and Ivory Coast, because most of them came from ancient Ghana, which is now part of Morocco, and almost the bottom part of Tunisia, and they still use the name Afriye. My spiritual mother was Nana Fuasa Afriye, the chief priestess of the Ashanti nation. And so that is an African word. And it got to be used with the acronym LAND, the Roman word for Ka, because the Romans are the first one to use it in their literature, talking about it that we know of up to this point. But the Africans of North Africa still celebrate that as their ethnic name, the Afriye. And then the last question, you got to remember what that middle one was they give me, was, and see, you would be straight out, let me be straight. Did white people and Asian people come from us? Yes, they did. The only life form on earth as human is one life form as human. There is no scientific anything to show any other genesis of any other person anywhere in the world. The problem is, it's called melanin. And I'm not going to do no lecture on what melanin is. Y'all going to do the study. Okay? Now, melanin isn't just the color. You can be as light as can be and have melanin in your deep recesses. Okay? So, what we are seeing is evolution or there's something, anybody ever heard of the Permian Ice Age? You had 100,000 years of an ice age. That means the clouds are frozen. That means you live underground. And then you had a 10,000 year hiatus where the ice began to melt. Then you had a 90,000 years of the second Permian Ice Age. What emerged out of that ice age, those Africans trapped in Europe and parts of Asia, what emerged is the person you call the white man. Now, it isn't just the genetic mutation that was necessary for survival, because you cannot have melanin and live in that ice. If you're going to survive, you got to get rid of the black. You got to calcify the pineal gland that produced the melanin in order to survive without sunlight, because of the vitamin D issue in keeping the skeletal structure available to carry the rest of you. And so when we, and I'm not a physician or nothing, but I'm reading the books, you know what I'm saying? But the white people is you, sad as it is. But the problem isn't with the color, because we got black people that can pass for white that's been the blackest, most revolutionary people in the world. So this is just the color. Something happened in the 200,000 years of acculturation in the ice. And the evolution and the mutation that took place in that ice. And the hatred that those people developed for nature having done that to them and treated them that way. And you and me, we're nothing but another piece of nature to them. We have a capacity to hold what we call spirit. They don't. That's part of the injury from the mutation that took place in that nearly 200,000 years of being in the ice. And the body, in order to survive, had to mutate from black to white. But it would take a dissertation with the people who just had that beautiful conference of melanin in Atlanta to really give you the foundation to that. But you had something in the middle that you asked that I missed.
The middle question was about the nose. About the nose, the damage that has been done.
The breaking of the nose.
The breaking of the nose.
That must be a fetish. I don't even get that one. I can still look at that person with the broken nose, all of the frames are still left there, and know that's an African person. There was an attempt by people to hide our history, because if you're holding me in slavery, you can't say I built world civilizations. You can't justify holding me in slavery. You just say you're holding me in slavery because I'm a heathen and I'm ignorant. I have known this. I've never contributed anything. And when you look and realize I contribute everything, you got a problem. So that means you have to steal the history, hide the history, and for, what do you call it? They counterfeit the history. Yes, Sister Lisa.
Thank you so much for giving me the extra time.
Thank you.
Can I see the hands of people who want to ask questions tonight, just so we get an idea? So we got about 8-10 more questions out there. Let's ask you, please be brief with the question,
And I'll be
so that we can enjoy these wonderful answers.
Be brief with that answer.
Okay, so just if we can skip the preambles and the history, just cut to the chase for me, please. Ask the question and let's get that wonderful answer.
Hello.
Good evening.
I had a question. I just wasn't sure if I heard this correctly. When you mentioned Jesus, were you saying that Jesus was, like, the idea of Jesus was created for man? And if that was so, how... I'm also curious about the connection between Jesus and God, and if God...
Hold that microphone closer so I can hear you clearly.
Yes, and if the connection with Jesus and God, being God mostly referred to as the Father, do we view God as only man?
Well, let me make that simple for you, because we got this God thing all complicated, because we were listening to the people who enslaved us explaining God to us. How can these people who murder and rape you tell you about ethics and morals? Just the simple concept, God is supreme, right? Omnipotent, right? Omnipotent, right? Nothing is greater than God, right? In that context, then the only thing that can exist is God. So if God is the only thing that can exist, what are we? No, that would be, because we're not smart enough to take that position yet. What we can say is that we are, how do you say, the qualities and attributes of certain aspects of God. Quality and attributes of certain aspects of God. Like the sun. The sun gives off light, right? Particles and what they call beams. But all of that those particles and lights contain the totality of what's in the sun. Yet they're not the sun. They're an aspect of the sun. They're an aspect of the sun's essence, with all of the possibilities of being the sun, where they are. Everybody in this room, if you study the laws of the sun, every one of you are sons. At some point in your life, when you generate wisdom and energy for someone else to learn from. And everyone in here is a moon when we reflect the knowledge and wisdom that someone has taught to us. And so when we look at nature, we are a replica of the universe. But God is beyond that. God is every and all things at once. It is the only existence that exists. We only exist as aspects of that existence. Say that again. I know we want to be God, Huh?
She said, what does Jesus mean for us?
Oh, well, you should have asked that at first and not
I didn't think you heard me.
Okay, no, let me answer really quick because I don't want to get hung up on the Jesus trip. You only into Jesus because you were enslaved in America. Had you not been enslaved in America, you wouldn't even know the name Jesus. So, let me be clear on that without being painful. Christ is simply, just like Heru, it is simply, Christ is the particle of the divine. Everybody is Christ. It was never a story that meant to be about one person. Somebody else's ignorance did that. Every culture in every society have a Christ character. Every culture in every society have a Christ character. There's a book called, oh God, it's from Peru. And in Peru, they had the woman, the pregnant virgin, had 2 babies. That was the Son of God. And the Papal Vu is the name of the book. And the Catholic Church burnt up all of the libraries of Peru because they wanted to pretend they didn't have books. And then they kept that one, the Papal Vu. Because then the Papal Vu, when the babies are born, the twins, to this virgin woman, there was a king that wanted to kill them. So she hid the baby in a basket in the marsh. Does that sound familiar to you? Except this is happening in Peru. You knew nothing about the Middle East. And so the story is so beautiful because they become the point where the two had to take on the devil, what we call Satan. But the greater God says to them, only one of you can do it. One of you must die. And both agreed to die, and God made them into one. Those stories are in every culture. And it's called God manifestation as man or woman. There was none, let me hurt your heart. There was never anyone named Christ. That's a title. There were young men that lived in the Middle East at the time who was fighting the Roman Empire. And you've studied the story of a place called Masada, where one of these men waged war until they could no longer fight the Roman, and they all committed suicide. That is the closest character in history that resembles the Christ. The rest is the Europeanization of Kemetic history, the Europeanization of Kemetic culture, where Aset becomes Mary, and Heru becomes Jesus, and God becomes Osiris. It's your African, and there was nobody named Heru. There was nobody named Aset. There was nobody named Osiris. Those were anthropomorphic representations of concepts, ideas, and principles on how the universe works and how we can become a miniature replica of the universe if we practice the same principle. That was our theocracy. Let's bring it back to Christ. Jesus is as appropriate as Heru if you understand the principle. You weren't supposed to worship some statue in a church. You were supposed to learn what does that statue symbolizes that I can inculcate in my own character so that I can be a better human being and carry on civilization in the world. That's what was being taught, and we missed that. And then the other thing is, not one of those religions is any better than the other. All is trying to do the same thing. Some just have better methodology than others because some impose too much on people in dress codes and prayer codes and other things. And some are too lax. The idea is, how do we live together as human beings without scavenging each other, murdering each other, robbing each other, stealing from each other? Religion needs to go back and to bind. Bind to what? Bind to a humanity that is divine. And it's hard work. People don't want to do the hard work to be human. You know, you can use brute force, and it's simpler. So, next question. That took a lot of energy.
Hello.
The microphone.
Yes. Thank you so much much, Professor. Thank you. I just want to say I'm not crazy. You have just confirmed that I'm not crazy. I've been to all the places that you mentioned, Hurghada, Sophia, Rome, Kemet, Egypt, and to see how rich we were, and to see that these people painted what they saw, afros, cornrows, and how we were made poor.
No, this is you gotta ask a question because I repeat the line.
Yes, my question was, how do we get back that richness that was stolen from us?
Yes, ma'am, that's a good question. You know how you get it back? You got to practice the right principles. You got to develop the kinds of ethics and morals and standards and behavior that will allow you to treat your fellow man as though they were you. Recognize the God in you and love it, and then look for the God in other persons so you can love them too. You don't kill what you love, right? And so if you can love yourself, you can recognize how to love others. And that's what religions are supposed to teach us. But when people find out they can use it to dominate your minds, they go there rather than try to teach and instruct. And in this world we live in today, let's not try to live in yesterday, because Kemet is yesterday. You go there to learn about tomorrow, okay? While you practice now. Right now, you got to learn to, and I said it last night, I said it again, you have to learn, how do I provide food, clothing, shelter, safety, and security for myself and my family? How do I then take over economics, politics, and culture where I live? Okay? How do I get control of land, labor, and resources where I live? Well, you got to learn how to register to vote. You got to learn how to vote. You got to learn how civics work. You have to learn what are the election laws in your area. You have to learn how to attend school boards. You have to learn how to elect the right people for your school boards, who's going to educate your children. That's the now. Okay? That's the now. And that's all they did back in Kemet. They taught the society how to be human beings. That's what Ma'at is about. Truth, justice, righteousness, harmony, balance, and reciprocity. That's what it's about. It's about an education. There's a book called The Pyramid Text. It's one of the oldest books in Kemet. And it's one of the oldest religious books in the world. And it has the Genesis story in it that you read in the Bible. So if you read this, you get I can give a facsimile where it says, where God says, I came into existence so that existing might exist. And when I realized that I existed, Ma'at was at my side. Truth, justice, righteousness, harmony, balance, and reciprocity. And I cough up Shu, the air. And then I spat out Tepnut, the gases. And they gave birth together, the other planetary bodies, meaning the Earth, the solid matter, and Tanut, the planetary bodies. In your ancient book is your quantum physics and physics of today, and you don't even know the book exists. It's called the Pyramid Text. And then God goes further. God says, after he does create these first 9, the divine 9, but y'all don't know how divine you are. After he creates the first 9, he says, having done all my heart possessed, having created all that my heart possessed, I then became a part of all of it. And how he started life, he said, I hiccup. Hiccup means the word. Somebody just borrowed it directly in another story. History shouldn't be a mystery, but you have to know your history to erase somebody else's mystery about you. This is about character building. In the Yoruba religion, Shango is supposed to be a king, but Shango is my head, I'm Shango, I'm the king. There wasn't no king named Shango. It is a concept of what a king should be in terms of qualities and attributes. It's a concept of getting rid of the ego, getting rid of the arrogance, getting rid of the dominance. and having an understanding of wanting self-transformation. And when you get to that point, you must marry Oya. Change in process. The desire for change must in your mind marry change. And then Oya, the woman, must practice polyandry. She's going to now marry Ogun. Ogun is the god of iron. Okay, they say the god of war. But Ogun represents transformation as a result of change. So you can sit and play and have a little doll called Ogun and a little doll called... But that's just symbols. It's the ideas and concepts that the symbols represent that help you to form character. It's like all the sisters. Everybody that come into the Yoruba tradition, they want to be Oshun. Because Oshun is sexy, and Oshun is beautiful, and Oshun wears yellow. Well, Oshun is one of the most powerful warriors of the pantheon. Why? Because she represents intuition. Intuition is one of the most powerful forces in the human being. So you gotta get deep. This is about character building. This is about quality and attributes. And that's what the ancestors were trying to show us. And all of these different systems that they designed. So that's saying a lot too. That microphone again. No, so let's take two more questions. Two more questions. We're at 9 o'clock, so we're going to take 2 more questions. Somebody's going to be broken
Brother right there
hearted.
with the hat was actually the next question. He's been very patient. And then one more after that.
Well, are y'all getting what I'm saying? I'm going to make sure y'all understand.
Hey, there's a whole lot of teaching going on in here tonight. For me myself, I'm a teacher up at Legacy High School.
Hold the mic a little bit up.
I'm a teacher up at Legacy High School. I want to, like, as much as I can, take back this information to the youth. I've read the books. I've been Van Sotomayor, They Came Before Columbus, The Destruction of Black Civilization by Chancellor William. Like all these different books. And I also like to listen to a bunch of lectures and stuff, man. But as a teacher in high school, it's kind of tough to convey just how important our history is and how we have to make history and that we are living history. So the question is, like, how you've been teaching for longer than I am. What would be the most proper way to try to grab the young minds to invest in themselves?
Here's the line. I know what you're trying to say because I got 23 grandkids. Boy, they give me a rough time. The idea is to teach them to love themselves. What this society has done and what social media have done a greater job at is to teach our children, teach our girls that they're not beautiful. Teach our boys that they're not good. And we have to understand the core of teaching children is transforming character and growing better character. And it's not just remembering the dates, it's to use them as symbol. What does Harriet Tubman represent? What does Fred Douglass represent? What does Nanny represent? What does, when we think of the Haitian Revolution, who were those people? They were all people they said was enslaved people. But Toya, who raised Dessalines to become the general to win the revolution, was an Igoji, captured in Benin and brought to the Americas. And she brought that knowledge of being an Igoji female warrior, and she created the men that led the Haitian Revolution. And so it's about character. And what the history does is let you know, like Jesse Jackson, God bless my brother, is that I am somebody. Somebody's taken that away from us and make us think we are nobody. But our history, I gave you a little drop of it tonight, tell you you are a big somebody.
Hello.
All right? And so when you let those kids know I'm somebody, I don't have to feel bad when I see somebody else's culture and somebody else's history, because I got my own.
Yes.
I can relax and be cool.
Yes.
So just teach them the history. There's a thing inside you. God lives in everybody.
Yes. Yes.
That thing inside you, when you feed God appropriately, God will feed you appropriately.
Amen. Amen.
Greetings, my beautiful people. It's so good to see you. If I may, I am Anise Robinson, sister by marriage to Oscar Robinson, the father of this beautiful brainchild that you all are enjoying. And I am wife to his oldest brother, Arthur Robinson. We all came from Memphis, Tennessee, to make sure that we were here. The question was raised, would this go on? And the decision was to do so. And you being here, thank you so much. All of the organizers, the planners, thank you so much. And my brother, my question to you is, and some of them asked some of the questions that I was going to ask, but as a teacher and a learner of African thought, of African growth, one of the questions that my students would often ask is, well, Miss A, if we did all of that, if we were the original kings and queens of the world and gave the world knowledge and all of these things, then what happened? And if I could get you to give us an answer, because all of these people are here to further this information, that knowledge to apply to young people who does not have a clue of what we're talking about. So in layman's term, can you give us an answer of what that should look like in terms of explaining it to them on their level, to walk away with something, to be inspired, to inform and be knowledgeable of what Kemet in the desert represents? And if, before you answer that question, if I could tag to that, on behalf of Oscar Robinson, who was not able to be here, we are here. This is a contingency of his family. That's his baby sister and her husband. On behalf of them, thank you for Oscar and for continuing this. So if you'll answer that question, sir, thank you.
Let me respond quickly. First, give Oscar my love. Oscar called me about a month before he had that stroke, and then he just kind of disappeared, and then I learned that he was sick, but he's an angel. We sometimes think we're in charge of God's work. We're not. And sometimes when we see our people have trauma, we try to figure out what we did wrong and what we didn't do. You should ask your question, what does God have in store for him that we don't even know about? And so give him my love, and I hope I can send another message to him. But the questions for the youth, what happened? Fear and ignorance was imposed through violence.
Violence. Hello.
Fear and ignorance imposed through violence has put us in this situation. So let's get rid of the ignorance, and we'll get rid of the fear, and we'll be able to fight the violence.
Well, how are we feeling? This has been a very inspiring evening. Professor Smalls has given us a lot of information, a lot of things to digest. And I'm hoping that after 2 nights of sitting in this space and taking in what he has shared with us, we will embark on our own journey to learn and to grow. This ends the 13th annual Kemet in the Desert Black Weekend, where Professor Smalls will meet you all in the lobby for a meeting. Thank you all for spending your Saturday night with us.
And before we leave, please, let's just acknowledge also again the City of Las Vegas, Ward 5 City Councilwoman Chandra Summers Armstrong. We are going to, again, acknowledge our late brother, Frank Lee Verley, and his family.